I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole last night, and I wanted to share some of the information that I found. Let's have a look. Okay, so on the left we have against what kind of saves Gruntaz do for damage. So the top row is going to be 2 up, 3 up, 4 up, and so on, and then the very bottom is if they have no save. So very similar to the 6 up. So a Gruntaz, this is a reinforced unit of Gruntaz without any buffs whatsoever. No all-out attack, no nothing. Deals 6 damage against a 2-up save. Let's see if I get my mouse in here. Oops, can't do that. And then all the way up to 19.11 damage versus no save. So something like Stormcast's Aether Wings or something. Okay, the next column is +1 damage. So this is with Violent Fury. This is the most significant jump in damage that we see. It literally doubles the damage output of Gruntaz. Violent Fury is easily the best buff that we have for damage for Gruntaz. So you can see it very cleanly. It jumps from 6 to 12, but it also jumps from 17.33 to 34.67. So if you're only going to do one buff, it's going to be Violent Fury. Another reason that Violent Fury is fantastic is that it's wholly within 15 and wholly within 12, so that's nice. And you also have there's no die roll, right? You just pick a unit. You don't have to worry about keeping everything within range or sorry, there's no dice rolls. Cool. Then the next column is minimum Hor Frost. So this buff is if you roll a 1 on your Hor Frost roll and you apply it to the tusks and hooves, because tusks and hooves have 0 rend, and so any additional rend is valuable. So you can see here these white numbers in between the columns, 3.56. It adds 3.56 damage. So at minimum, the Hor Frost is going to be adding 3.56 damage, and it's pretty consistent across all the saves. Be it a 2-up or a 6-up, right? The unit is going to get about 3.56 damage. So from Hor Frost at no matter what. So that's not a ton of damage. It's not really a ton of damage. And of course, Hor Frost is locked behind 2 different dice rolls as well as interactivity from your opponent. So you can cast it and fail. You can cast it successfully and be unbound. You can cast it successfully, it not be unbound, and then still roll a 1. So there's a few different filters that are on our way here. Very different from Violent Fury. But at minimum, Hor Frost is going to be adding some damage here. Cool. At max Hor Frost, you can see the max Hor Frost column. So this is with 3 rend on tusks and hooves. It's adding 7.11 damage at the low end, and at a 5-up save, it's adding 3.55 damage, and then with a 6-up and with a 0, it's not adding anything because the damage is not, the rend is too high, and right, so whether or not you had a 5-up or a 6-up, if you have enough rend, it doesn't matter. And that's why that number 3.55 is about half of 7.11, because the rend on the tusks and hooves, I don't think is like, it doesn't matter anymore. It's all getting through, right? So this is a more significant jump in damage. I said at the very beginning that the Violent Fury is like the greatest single jump in damage, and I kind of stick by that because it's a straight up doubling, and nowhere else does the damage actually just double. Like in terms of percentage increase, the Violent Fury is the highest. But if we wanted to look at the difference between Violent Fury and maximum Hor Frost, all that we do is add those first 2 columns of white numbers on the red background together. So it would be 3.56 and 7.11. We would add them together. So it gives us like, about 10 or 11 more damage. It's a lot of extra damage. It's almost doubling it again. But again, we have to sit through all these different filters to get there. Okay, so point is that what you roll on your Hor Frost matters. It matters quite a bit. And then at the end here, we have the Zogrock buff. So this, and of course, all of these numbers, everything here is assuming that you're getting all 6 pigs in, right? And if you get if one pig isn't in, it goes down by 1/6, right? The damage output goes down by 1/6. So the Zogrok here, you'll see that no matter what, he's adding 7.16 damage, and because these are mortal wounds, right? There's no save, there's no rend, and the Zogrok buff is actually a pretty. It's a very easy buff to get if you have the tongs, because it's just a 2-up. There's no interactivity from your opponent. You're just like, on a 2-up, I'm going to add some mortal wounds to the attacks. I think you're throwing, with 6 pigs, you're throwing 43 dice. It's a lot of dice to throw. So it's, of all the buffs that we can give to Gruntaz, this one is the one that I don't want to say is the most, it's like the most. Violent Fury is the most consistent, and it's easy. There's no roll. You just, here you go, +1 damage melee, sorted. Zogrok is the next most consistent. On a 2-up, I just get the buff. And if I get my pigs, however many pigs I get in, it's gonna deal mortal wounds, right? Gruntaz, yeah, I mean, for them to be able to deal mortal wounds is relevant, because without Zogrok, they don't. So this is just gonna deal some mortal wounds, and it's actually pretty good. It's not as big of a buff as Hor Frost can be, right? But it certainly is more damage than minimum Hor Frost, right? Because we're increasing by about 3.55, and here we're increasing by about double, right? The worst Hor Frost roll, Zogrok is gonna be producing more damage than a minimum Hor Frost roll. Zogrok just costs 160 points. That's the thing, right? Like, the opportunity cost for taking Zogrok is more significant than the opportunity cost of taking Hor Frost. However, Zogrok is more reliable, and I think that this, like, reinforced units, I think is the only time that Zogrok's going to be good. So I think this might be the best use of him, maybe for like reinforced Ardboys or Brutes, right? But so yeah, I mean, like, I'm not really drawing any conclusions here. I'm just looking at the numbers and kind of asking what you think. But it gets better. Boom. Here we have the Zogrok buff at the high end, we're looking at 45 damage. 45 damage. This is expected, right? Even 30 damage. You're expecting to deal, if you have a Violent Fury, Hor Frosted, Zogrocked up reinforced unit of pigs, if all of them get in against a 2-up save, right? Like 30 damage. Whatever these pigs connect with is gonna die. It's 5 damage a pig. So even if only 3 pigs get in, it's still gonna be 15 damage. It's a lot. And then here I have +1 to hit and +1 to wound from, well, the +1 to hit is you could give them all out attack, right? There's lots of different ways that you could get +1 to hit. So this is just with, if you happen to give them all out attack and they have all these buffs. And the second column is +1 to wound. This is, of course, if you're using a Triumph, or if you're playing Big Wah and you get +1 to wound. And I can't think of any other buffs that you could possibly give a reinforced unit of pigs, right? 67 damage. 67 damage. 43 damage against a 2-up save. Whatever these pigs get into, they are going to destroy. Now, I don't know what your local gaming store is like. I don't know what your local meta is like, but if you're playing in such a way that you can line up all 6 pigs and have them all connect with your opponent, they don't even have to connect with the same unit. You can teleport a unit of pigs, or you can Mighty Destroyers a group of pigs into such a place where all 6 are going to touch an enemy unit. And then you just let them blow up. You let them explode and deal their 40, 50, 60 damage. And then that's it. Right? Like, you can kill them all now. That's okay. But you're still looking at 30 wounds. Right? Mystic Shield, all out defense. Right? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I imagine a line of pigs connecting with 3 different screens and getting rid of all of them. All of them gone. Smashing and bashing your way to victory, right? Anyway, I don't know. I'm just looking at some numbers. You tell me what you think. Are these Gruntaz better now with the Zogrok buff? Are they the same? Is it like, do you think that this like package of a reinforced unit of Gruntaz and Zogrok belongs in Iron Sun's Bloodtooth Bigwa? Like, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and wah!